guys, hey, we are here in Idaho. We said we'd come on and let you guys know what we're going to do for the summer. And so we're here and we wanted to show you what we're going to do.
Show them.
Show them?
What we're going to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to turn the camera around and show you guys what we're going to do, okay? Here we go. Hey, look
what
who's
are you guys doing here?
Woo, look who's here. Guess who? Who are you guys?
Yeah, who are you guys?
We're Robert and Michelle, and we are More to Life Outdoors.
Yeah.
But
Woohoo!
some people that have followed us know that we are very active in this old gold dredge. This dredge is now a museum. This dredge actually operated 1940 through 1952. It did shut down for a couple years during World War II. But Michelle's grandfather actually worked on that dredge when it was in operation. So Kimberly and Tracy were nice enough to come up and volunteer with us this summer.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. Well, you guys are nice enough to mention what you guys did for the summer.
We are very excited to have Kimberly and Tracy here to help us out for the summer.
We're not only doing volunteer, but I bet you we'll be doing some other things too.
There'll be some adventuring involved, I promise.
So you guys be sure to follow us along. We'll put the Moore's link on the bottom of the description so you guys can follow them too. All right, thanks guys. Blooper! And my phone's just I can't wait to see that.
Well, Michelle's waving at this. It's like.
Alright, hello everyone. Today's video we are going to give you a grand tour of the Yankee Fork Dredge up here in central Idaho. This was built in 1940. Took them, 112 days from the point they started and this thing was digging. It ran to 1952. But of course, they did shut down for the World War, which I think you'll learn on the inside, because 600 gallons of diesel a day this thing consumed, and the U.S. government was not giving that much diesel away during the war. All right, so come along with us on this little adventure.
All right.
Welcome to the Yankee Fork Dredge. Would you guys like to do the tour?
Yes, we would.
All right, so we're going to start in here in the winch room.
So this is the winch room.
Yep, so this is the main winch. This raises the bucket lines up. That's why it's so big. They use one electric motor. This dredge was electric hydraulic run. It didn't need to be plugged into a dam like some of the other dredges before this one. And then these winches over here would pull it back and forth.
Cool.
So we got a little model here before we start. So this would be a spud. We got a spud back there drives in the ground. And two of these winches would move this back and forth. The bucket line would dig, go in through, you guys will see in a little bit, the trommel, and make the tailings. And then as that did that, the pond moved forward, and that would float the dredge. 8 to 10 feet to float this dredge.
Okay.
It went on its own pond.
Cool.
All right.
So this is where we spent our summer, as volunteering here on this dredge. So from the beginning, we walk up here, and Tracy can tell you about the water pumps.
Yep. So these pumps, the three of them on this dredge, 8,400 gallons per minute of water. They were low pressure, but high volume. So if you had a pretty big in-ground swimming pool, these three pumps would fill that swimming pool in less than a minute.
Less than a minute?
Less than a minute.
Wow.
Just give you an idea how much water is coming through this thing.
Cool. So there are 4 flights of stairs to climb when you guys come up on the dredge.
Yep. These railings were not here when the guys worked. The association put these in to allow the tours.
So can you imagine climbing these flights of stairs with no railings?
And as we walk through this, realize it's a boat.
It's a
Or
boat.
a barge,
Well,
so it
a
moves
barge.
as it's digging, and it's going back and forth. And I had to do these steps.
Yeah, crazy. So
this is everyone's resting spot. They get here. I'm out of breath. Sorry about that. But as this ran off 440 volts, as we'll see later. These are all the resistors to power all the motors, so they can variable speed, so they can speed them up, slow them down as needed.
So all these are resistors.
Yes.
Controls the motor speed.
Yep. So there's 440 volts going through these things, give or take. This was not here.
Right.
So the guys had to go back here, think how careful they had to be not to touch this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Lots of voltage. Lots of voltage.
And speaking of that, there's only 2 reported accidents on this dredge while it was running.
Only 2?
Only 2. I mean, look at that. Just this little bit. There's a lot of things that can reach out and grab you.
Right. So only 2
Only 2
reported.
Reported.
You know, there wasn't OSHA back
There
then.
was no OSHA. This job is very important. As you guys will get up here, we'll share what the guys got as their benefit package. And
Okay.
so they probably fix themselves up at night if they did get a little boo-boo and come back to work.
All right, let's head up another flight of stairs.
All right, don't give up on us now because we're almost to the top.
Up to station 6. Okay.
So this little schematic here will show you. Here's the big spud.
Which is in the back. We'll see that, right?
It's 55 feet long and weighed 17.5 tons.
Oh, wow.
And you see it's pointed. So it jumped down into the ground, and that's what would swivel this. We got this board right here. So the buckets would be up here. Here's the pivot point, so this thing would dig like this.
Okay.
And the buckets would go all the way down to bedrock. When they hit bedrock, over here's the control room. The first thing the guy would do is this one controls the speed of the buckets. You'd shut them off, stop the buckets. This would be the speed of how fast you could raise it. And you'd use this lever here. You'd raise them buckets up.
So the buckets are out here.
Yep.
If you can see out the window. Down there. Right there are the buckets.
Yep.
And this is the ladder. That big old long thing right there is the ladder, right? That raises and lowers.
Yes. Yep. And you can see on this beam, I don't know if they can see, it's dented to the shape of a bucket.
What?
One of the guys raised it too far.
Raised it too far. Well, let me see if I can see it over here.
Yeah, but it's probably still going.
Oh. Yeah, that beam right there. Let's see. That beam right there. As he's talking about, it's the shape of the bucket. Because, again.
He raised it too far and it was still moving.
Oh.
And come up and hit that.
Oh, okay.
And so we got the bucket stopped. They're raised up. We want to move ahead. This thing moved ahead 3 to 5 feet. The guy would use these levers here. He'd move them at the same time. Pull it ahead 3 feet. Then you can stop it.
Okay.
Because of this hole right here and the design of this dredge, this control guy could watch down there
what he was
and see the
doing.
winches.
Oh, okay.
You know, I always tell people, this corner right here, this technology in 1940 took away a man's job. And that's why this one only used 3 people to run this whole dredge.
3 people.
Yep. So this little controller here, the cover's off, but this is the one he would adjust the speed of the buckets. So what they were after was 26 dumps into the hopper per minute.
So how many buckets are there?
And this started out with 72, but it wasn't working efficiently, so they took one off and it ran with 71 buckets.
And how big are the buckets?
They're 8 cubic feet, and they weigh 3,420 pounds.
Wow.
We'll see the sign, it might be 3,240.
I thought it was 28 to 32,000 pounds.
100
pounds, not
yeah, we'll
thousand.
see, there's a sign there.
Oh, okay. All
We
right.
can fact check ourselves. And this, as you can see, there is a boiler on this. So this guy had heat up here. This was the sought after job. In 1940, the guy made 87.5 cents an hour.
87.5 cents an hour.
Yep.
And down there is what?
Though you can see the winches from up here.
The winches. Oh yeah, the winches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so the 87.5 cents. They had a town south of here. They got housing. Their heat was provided. They ran an electric generator, so they had power 24/7. Had running water inside, hot and cold. The single men actually had 3 meals a day. So they had a cafeteria down there. They fed them
Down at the
at
cabins.
the camp, yep, where they lived.
Right.
And for 1940, up here in the wilderness, they had a flushing indoor toilet.
So this dredge opened in 1940
Yep.
and closed when?
In 1952 was the last time it dug. And it closed down for 2.5 years during the World War because of the 600 gallons per day of diesel fuel it consumed. You know, they felt, you know, the U.S. government actually shut them off so you're not getting no more diesel fuel.
Right. So this dredge is owned by the Idaho National Forest, right?
Yes, U.S.
And
Forest.
yeah, the U.S.
Yeah,
Forest.
US Forest.
So why do they own it now, and who owned it before?
So this company here, Snake River Mining Company, built it. 2 gentlemen out of New York. They bought the claim. They built this for almost $430,000 back in 1940 to build this. Took them 112 days when they started, and this thing was up and digging. Now the engineer that we heard is South African. He had one bowl gear, which you guys will see in a little bit. Most American-made dredges at the time, or North America, had 2 on each side, so it equalized the torque. This one had 1. Well, the gentleman didn't realize how much hard this ground was and the big boulder, so that thing broke quite often. So if you look out here, they added this deck. Then they cut that wall open and made doors, swinging doors out there. They'd bring a chain fall, they'd lift half that gear up, because they split in half, bring her outside. One gentleman had to walk that plank with that come along, or them chain falls, drop it to the ground. The guy out there would unhook it, hook the new one, and he had to lift it up, swing her back in, and bring her back inside.
Okay.
And here's what's amazing about this dredge. That we still have the tattletale clock.
And what is a tattletale clock?
So a tattletale clock is 24-hour runtime. There was a needle that someone took, come out, and it's scribed. So right here at 9 o'clock, they started digging. At 10 o'clock, these long squigglies right here meant they hit bedrock. So from 10 to 1, they worked this dredge across the bedrock.
Huh.
Because that's where all the gold most of the gold laid on the bedrock. So that you can see he lifted it back up and started the whole process over.
Interesting.
Now the bosses would pick these up every 24 hours. If there was a long line that this thing didn't do anything, they better have a reason why this was shut down.
Right.
Hence the tattletale clock.
Tattletale clock.
The
Okay.
bosses did not need to be here
All right.
to know this thing was digging gold.
All right. Next
Next
station.
Okay, here's our buckets. Fact checked.
3240 pounds.
That's
3,240 pounds
each bucket.
bucket. And those are the buckets.
Yep. So this thing was 1.9 million pounds.
1.9 million?
Pounds are roughly, I believe, 233,000 tons is what the whole unit weighed.
Okay.
Yep, so here's the doors they had to build in.
Okay.
Yep, and up there, that's still the old chain fall, the chains in that bucket to keep it out of the buckets. So we'll come around here. This is our rock ejector.
And what is a rock ejector?
So when originally didn't have one, so if a big rock come up them buckets, the control guy had to stop it at the top, get the other two guys, they climb up there
Okay.
with pry bars, and they'd pry a big rock out down in here, and the chute went back into the pond. So when
So they would put the bigger rocks down in here.
yep, the chute goes right out above the entrance door to the gift shop.
Okay.
Shoots right out there. So when J.R. Simplot bought this, he goes, "That's ridiculous." He goes, "You're calling two men off their jobs to come help you." So he added this grizzly. So the guy now, he'd see a big rock, he'd stop it. He'd hit a lever and this would flop down that way. He'd dump the bucket, all the rocks, good material would fall into the chute, go into the trommel. The big rocks would stay here. You'd hit the lever again and automatically, bloop, shoot the rock out.
Okay. So you mentioned J.R. Simplot.
Yes.
We didn't finish our story in there, but who actually owned the dredge?
Yeah, sorry about that. So J.R. Simplot and a partner bought it in 1949. Now it was stuck on bedrock. We told you earlier that it was 8 to 10 feet to float. Bedrock was at 8 feet. So it was stuck, so the original owner sold it, and J.R. Simplot, and I don't know the other guy's name, bought it for $75,000. He bought the dredge and the claim for $75,000.
Okay.
So then he come up through here, and well, he moved it. That's what he moved it when he didn't have permission to flood his pond with the river. He did it anyways. And that's how he was able to get around the bedrock.
Okay.
Yep, and he come up here, and he stopped where the people park out there. He brought it up here. He wanted to turn around because this dredge is only 40% efficient. So 60% of the gold is still out in them tailings. And he knew that, or someone in his organization knew that. So he commissioned the U.S. Forestry Service, "Hey, I'm gonna turn my dredge around, go back through my tailings," because this came up 5.5 miles in the claim. They said, "No, you're not." So he come up here where it sets is another man's claim. He had done that for him for the claim. The dredge about 200 yards to the north that's set. 1952, he shut it off. He said, "We're done." Well, 1953. The next claim up called and said, "Hey, your buckets are hanging over my line. I'm going to charge you rent." Well, any of you that studied J.R. Simplot knows he wasn't paying rent to no one. So he sent a small crew up here. They fired this thing up in 1953, widened this pond, and they turned it, brought it back here. That's why it's facing the other way. Well, he had to tear this apart. This dredge was never designed to be tore apart and moved like some of the other ones. So 1965, 66, U.S. Forestry got on him and said, hey, you gotta tear this apart and get it out of here. That's when he donated it to the U.S. Forest Service.
Okay.
And that's how they come about to own it. And now we do the tours, which is really cool. We can teach people about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And this is one of the best preserved dredges. We can go anywhere in this dredge we want.
Yep. In the lower 48.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is our bowl gear.
Bull gear.
Yep. This is what drove the buckets. This motor right here, 200 horse motor, drives this gear. And this is what spun them buckets and dug.
So this is a motor
Yep.
right here.
200 horse electric motor.
200 horse electric motor.
Yep.
And it ran these gears.
Yep, it was a 50 to 1. I don't know if the camera will show it, but down here, this one's cracked. This gear almost didn't make the.
Right there.
Yep,
So that one's cracked.
yep. So this gear didn't have much longer to go.
Okay. Cool.
And you can see they made this ladder. All these trolleys and runners for the chain fall.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. On to the next.
That's it. So it's hard to see back there, but when the bucket's dumped, it went into a chute,
Mm-hmm.
and it come down here into our trommel.
So this is the trommel.
Yep, this trommel here is 30 feet long, 7 feet in diameter. And now the little holes you see are 3/8. This dredge is after flower gold. Very small. So anything smaller than 3/8 would go out to each side, which we'll see in a minute, into the sluice boxes. So anything bigger than 3/8, so if there's a 3/8 nugget, ooh, you getting excited?
3/8 nugget.
It's still out in them tailings.
Oh boy. So this is the other look from the other side of the trommel. And this is where Tracy and Diane climbed up and walked along the trammel into the secret room.
No longer a secret.
It's only a secret to you and Diane because I didn't go. Oh, wait a minute. I get to see the video, and so
Yeah,
does
and you
everybody
guys get to see the
else.
video.
Let's see that video.
All right.
Okay, what are we doing?
We're going to go to a secret room
Secret room.
in the Yankee Fork Dredge. Gotta climb across this trommel.
How am I going to get up there?
We'll lean over and put it up. That's what my feet. What did you step on right
I stepped on that little board right there.
here? There?
Climbing over stuff, finding a secret room.
Here.
Grab this.
Oh.
Can you get it? Can you get it?
Foot on this one.
Oh boy. I'm scared.
Not coming up? Okay.
I'm short and my legs probably.
Get your finger off the lens. So we walk across this. Okay. Then
I don't know what for it to do first.
okay. Let me- Yeah.
I don't know what to grab.
Just don't step in this.
Yeah. My boots would be well oiled, huh? Then what did you step? I'm stuck.
He's stuck. Yeah, just kind of step down in here. Yep.
Okay.
And you gotta squeeze through there.
I did it.
Alright. So this is the secret room of the Yankee Fork Dredge. Watch the boards.
So secretive.
Couple of cans of something. And at the bottom of the boat here,
This is cool. Is that wood?
yeah, it's a big old block. Yeah. And there's the door. We go down to the roof. But no, we had to come in the other way. I got this one nailed right in.
No, I gotta get a picture of this.
Okay. How much gold do you think's in them rocks right there?
Oh, jeez.
Are you in the secret room?
Yes.
We are. Where are you at?
Yeah, where are you?
Above you.
You're above us?
Tracy. Can I get a picture of us? Secret room. Nice.
We're looking at all the gold down here. You see us?
Yeah, I see you.
There's a lot of- This floor's not even level. The boards are bad.
Oh, it's stuck. I'm guessing that's not historic.
No. Someone dropped that. So what do you think, Diane?
That's pretty
How
cool.
many times have you been in this secret room?
This is my first time ever.
Nice. Nice.
And it's really cool.
Yep, and we're wearing masks because the smoke is so bad today.
And this is what we do when it's boring on the dredge. We
Yeah.
explore. No ghosts.
No ghosts though.
Well, now that we can see.
Okay, that was a pretty awesome secret room there.
Yeah, it was. Wasn't that cool?
So what are we? Where are we now?
So we're still in the back of the side of the upper trommel. So this here, because all this water recirculated back into the pond. So they had, there's actually 6 of these, and it's amongst us here. Them are fresh water. They gather it from the snow, rainwater. This was to keep the engines cool.
Okay.
Because the pond would have been all dirty, sediments.
So just outside here is the spud.
Our spud.
What is a spud?
So the spud is what this pivoted on and held it in place. So you see they used the winch to pick this up,
That orange thing.
the orange thing. And then when they moved it, they got to where they wanted, they'd drop it again. Then it was pointed like I showed you before, and it'd work itself down in the dirt, and the whole dredge pivoted on this. Now there's a story, and when I was up there and showing you guys what they had to do to move it, the first thing they would do is pick that spud up. I didn't pick the spud up.
You didn't pick the spud up?
No, and the story is one of the controllers didn't lift the spud either, and he snapped it in half.
Huh.
So they had to pull this out of here and weld it back together.
Wow.
I mean, 17.5 tons. Can you imagine that? So that gives you an idea how powerful these winches were.
All right.
So now the
Down.
most dangerous steps down.
Down the stairs. Eek. All right. I have to go sideways.
Yeah, most of us do. So this next station, the guy actually had to do these stairs once an hour to keep that bolt gear greased. All right.
So,
So this is the sternweller's position. He made a whopping 67.5 cents an hour. So, as the name implies, his main job was to keep this gear lubed and they bow gear up there lubed. Now, how he did that was with a cotton mop and a 5-gallon bucket of grease. You dab it up there because they didn't shut it down to keep this lubed. So these are actually tailings from his cotton mop from like 80 years ago. See, we got someone's been playing with us. So I'll put that back. So this was all added on because this happened and I'm following this bearing cap.
oh,
Even though you can see that with this design, the water come through here and then back into the pond, kept that bearing cool, but it's still overheated.
right.
So they made that little thing. Another part, we picture this guy being covered with grease head to toe when he got done.
Right?
Kimberly kind of knows that because I worked here one day and I set my backpack down, took it home, set it on our new bench, and got grease on our.
Yeah, on our new bench. I wasn't very happy.
No. After all these years, there's still grease here. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see here, but on the chute, we show you the chute, 130 feet long. That's where the tailings would go up on a conveyor belt, and that's what made the tailings. But there's a boarded catwalks on each side of this thing. He had to walk up there once an hour with the same mop and bucket and keep them rollers lubed. And rumor has it, it was like riding a bucking bronco out there.
I bet.
So
The
you
wind
picture
blowing.
that guy with a bucket and a mop in his hand, his other hand holding on something while he's trying to lube them rollers.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no harnesses, no nothing to clip on.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so then of course, go man on a totem pole. If you wanted to work on the dredge, you started here.
Okay.
So because there was a road crew outside, and, you know, people cutting trees. So we started in here with this design. This motor here, this is what runs the trommel, 100 horse. Like that one up there is 200 horse, this is 100. We turn this wheel, this motor could go either way. So what he would do is he'd climb up there, he could see inside the trommel. If there was a rock jam, before this design, someone had to climb up into that trommel with a shovel and shovel the rock GMO.
So climb up from here.
Yeah, go down there, climb up into the trommel.
Into the trommel, which will be,
Yep.
that's the trommel right there.
You climb up there and
In that little,
he would look through that hole.
so he'd be inside there.
So with this design, he could run this lever over here, back and forth, and get this trommel rocking back and forth, and it'd clear the rock gym. So,
Oh, so this lever?
yep, this lever here.
Okay.
And also, she already showed you this hole. This hole is here, so he could look down in here, and if there's a lot of small, fine material on that conveyor belt, he knew that was not running at the right speed, so he could speed it up or slow it down.
Right.
And then this other one, this controlled the speed of the conveyor belt.
Okay.
And then right above Kimmy, this is this guy's heat here. That's the resistors for the motor down there and the motor up here for the desired speed.
Pretty complicated machine for 1940,
Yes,
isn't it?
was. And if you notice on the shoe, it's covered. Yes, it was covered originally because this ran during the winter when it first was built. They'd run all winter long in here.
Up in Idaho, in the
Yeah.
mountains.
Yeah, with 10 feet of snow.
10 feet of snow.
So there was heaters, we told you up there, that heat was not for the gentleman, it was to keep things from freezing.
Right.
Well, hello.
And what are you standing
I am
in?
standing on one of the 16 sluice boxes on this side of the dredge. There is another 16 on the other side. What I got my hand on is the water. The water flows through here. I'm gonna come over here. Hopefully I'm not stepping on any gold.
So these are the sluices where the gold went.
So on this particular dredge, up here if you can see this piece of paper, there was a copper plate. On each one of these, they would paint mercury on that. Liquid mercury. As the gold and silver would come over that, the copper and mercury bonded together and that stuff stuck like a magnet. It comes down through here, you can't see it, but there's a trap. So any of the mercury, because mercury's heavier than water too, would go in that trap. So every 10 to 14 days, this was under lock and key, the gold man would come in and he'd peel that off like a sticker. Put it in a bucket, haul that out, he'd lift up all these steel things here, it's called the ripplers. Down there is the trap door, he'd open that trap door, he'd wash all this down, this would go in through the trap. We'll get you downstairs, there's another sluice box with a jig pump. That's where they collect any gold, the mercury, and copper mist.
Okay.
And if you notice up here, these are Roman numerals.
Yeah, what's that for?
So this was, of course, the number of the sluices. On the other side, the same thing, except they're normal numbers, 1, 2 through 16.
Okay.
So this one, he would keep track of how much gold was on the copper and silver, and he'd write down the Roman numeral, and they knew which one it was. Then that way they knew how much the speed of the trommel.
Okay.
Yep, and then they knew what side. You know, instead of saying starboard or
All right. Because one was normal numbers, one was numeral.
so they knew which side they were
Roman
dealing
numerals. Okay, cool.
with. Yep,
Don't fall.
I won't fall. All right, we're back on the
Main floor?
main floor.
All right.
Did you notice the floor's on an angle?
Not really, but
Kind of hard to see.
yeah.
So up here back in 2016, 17, they had what they called Snowmageddon. It snowed so much up here, and when it melted, it come rushing off this mountain, actually floated this dredge. So now when it settled, like it settled down, all that sediment's in the bottom of this pond, it's sitting on the bottom like this. It used to float periodically. Now it never floats because the pond's too shallow and small.
Okay, so you want to open that door and see what's outside?
Sure, let's go inside.
So what is this orange thing?
Alright, that is the discharge. So any of the waste that come through them sluices come up eventually to in here and went outside right back into the pond. And as you can see, they put ripplers here to try to catch the gold in here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep, and so here's our other sluice. Then when they open the trap doors, they come down through here. Here's the jig pump. So they set this tray, would set right here, and they use these shots of steel
To do what?
That's what they set in this tray, and it would shake violently, and all the gold and silver would fall through here, and you'd collect it in a bucket. So all these little steel shots are the punch outs for all these holes to put this thing together. They recycled this to use this.
Recycled. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. So this here is the oven, stove, furnace. This was down at the camp. So that material we're talking about upstairs that you peel off like a sticker, the mercury, gold, and silver, she would take that up to the camp, heat it up in here to 700 degrees. That's when mercury turned to vapor. Now, as most of us know, that's when mercury was dangerous.
Right.
You can't breathe it. You'd set it up, this is part of the still. And go up through there, then turn back to liquid. They'd collect that. So he'd take it back up there and paint it back on. And then what was left, they forged these bricks. Now they'd be the size of about a house brick of gold and silver. Then they'd ship this US mail to the Denver Mint.
Okay.
And their federal ID number would be right here. So that's, Denver would know who to pay to. 1800 degrees, the gold and silver would separate. The silver would come to the top. They'd skim that off, cool it down, weigh it. Same with the gold, and then that's how much they knew to pay the Yankee Fork.
Wow. Cool.
So we got everybody watching this to take a $100 bill, put in the US mail, and mail it to yourself. And wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that now. All right.
All right. What to next?
So the engine room, my favorite. Okay, so right where I'm standing, this pontoon, because we are on 26 pontoons, and the one on that side held 18,000 gallons of diesel fuel. Now this thing, what they would do, they'd pump it up to them two tanks up there. Them are 300 gallons apiece. And back in the 1940s, of course, no fuel pumps on these motors, and they gravity feed these motors.
Gravity feed the motors.
Yep, for the
Okay.
diesel fuel. These used 300 gallons a day, each motor, so 600 gallons total. These are marine diesels. They decided to use marine diesels. They're a little more reliable. So this one here is seized up. They blew a rod. That's actually the piston out of it behind you guys. I'll put my hand up here to make a comparison.
Yeah, that's huge.
So these are 7-cylinder diesels. So what they would do if they had to shut one down, this could run off one. It just wasn't efficient. The thing about having a generator, if you overload it, it bogs way down. these are essentially generators. So if they hit something hard, gravel, big boulders that bog down, so they did run with both. They could run with one if they had to. So if they shut one off, the engine guy here, the bow whaler, he'd open all these. He'd come over here, pull this lever down, hit this with 250 psi of compressed air. That would get this spinning. As it was still spinning, he would have to shut these real quick. Then the diesel and compression would take over and it'd stay running. So,
All right.
and this one still turns. We'll see if we can get it turning. I have not rolled it over yet today.
Cool.
So then you come back here, here's our two generators. 440 volts apiece.
Wow.
Now, they're so big, they had to have a kicker motor, like a soft start on air conditioner, to energize these to get them working.
Nice.
So, and of course, we have the breaker. This here, they say, was the most dangerous job of the dredge. This guy had to pull it to reset it. If he was pulling it, there's so much magnetic field, it yanks you back into this wall. Or if you're pushing it, if you didn't have a good grip on it, throw you back this way.
That's dangerous,
That's dangerous. Yep.
especially since 440 volts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So back here, you go back
Oh,
here.
back here.
That's the control board for all this stuff.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So I tell the younger kids this is the world's first computer motherboard.
Yeah.
1940.
1940 computer motherboard. Okay.
So this here is the bowl gear wrench. The guy'd go up there and he'd loosen that thing up. No sockets, no impacts. They had to wrench it.
So this is what we did for the summer. This is what Tracy did. He did volunteering and did the tours for the Yankee Fork Gold Dredge.
Yes.
So how'd you like your summer?
I love my summer. Especially this room right here.
Yeah.
The engine room.
Engine room.
Yep, love the engine room.
Cool. All right. So that ends the tour. I'm going to take a... Oh, it doesn't.
We got a save all to look at.
What's a save all?
So when the buckets come up and turn, like if you're shoveling, dirt fell
Oh,
off.
the save all.
Well, the same thing happened way up there. We'll show you guys. They put sluice boxes in there.
Oh, well, let's go
Looks
look at
like
this.
that.
Yeah, let's go look at that.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for the night janitor too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. First, we're going to stop and see what this is,
Yeah, because remember we talked about the upstairs, the fresh water
right?
to keep these cool. This is the water pump to do that.
That little thing's a water pump.
Yep, the electric water pump.
It's like a big version of our RV pump.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. I wish we had that in our
I
RV.
know, we've never run out of water. That'd empty our tank in no time. So this is our biggest pump. This was all the water that went through the trommel. 3,600 gallons per minute.
Wow.
And then over here would be the pipe they drop down and the filter into the pond. That's where they got the water, most of the water from is right out of the pond.
Okay. All right.
So then you got these steps here. The gold man would chuck, he'd go up there and there's a little tiny trommel up there. If he didn't want to run through the big one, he could run through this little one.
Okay,
All right.
next.
Next.
Ah, there's a skeleton.
Oh, there's the night watchman.
Night watchman.
Night janitor.
Ah, he's scary.
Hey, okay?
Dying to see you. Nobody loves me.
Nobody loves
We love you, buddy.
So what is this?
So this is the save all. So then buckets way up there turn, stuff filled down. They come through these 4 sluices. This is also where the gold man would check to see how much gold they were on.
Okay.
So he knew what they were doing, and he could speed this thing up or slow it down accordingly. Because if they weren't that much gold, no sense spending a lot of time.
Right?
He's warm.
All right.
See you, Steve. Alright,
And this is called the Save All.
the save all.
Thanks for the tour, Joycey.
Thank you guys for coming. Donations are accepted in the red box.
Or you can go online and donate that way,
Go
probably.
online. Membership's only $5 a year to
Yeah.
help support us and keep it going.
Okay, so we have a special guest today. We feel special because we have one of the camp kids that grew up here on the dredge. And what was your name?
My name's Billy Reed.
All right. Well, tell us all about the dredge.
All right, so yeah, I grew up here on the Yankee Fork from a baby until I was 9 years old. My dad started working on this dredge in 1940, and he worked every year that it operated through 1951. And I was 9 years old at that time. This
Nice.
is my dad and mother here. A picture taken in 1939 when they were dating. They got married in June 1940, and my dad started work the fall of 1940 on the dredge.
Cool.
So, of course, my first few years, just being a youngster, don't remember much, but later on, when I became 6, 7 years old, there were other camp kids in the dredge camp. The original company built a original brand new camp for the employees. It included modern log homes for the families, a bunkhouse and a cookhouse for the single men, a one-room schoolhouse, a building that held retort furnaces where they processed the gold, and then there was a big maintenance shop. So the home I grew up in had 24-hour electricity and hot and cold running water. And us kids did a lot of activities outdoors because that was about the only thing to do. In fact, my mother wanted us outdoors to get out of her hair. So we did activities like we would build rafts out of logs and float the ponds that the dredge created.
Oh, cool.
We also built us a clubhouse up on the hill above the camp where we could get away from the rest of the group in our little clubhouse up on the hill. So it was not knowing any better. Of course, winters, there was at least 4 to 5 foot of snow on the level. And so we had winter activities. For Christmas one year, folks bought my brothers and I a toboggan. Well, there was no lift to go up, so we would drag that toboggan up the hill as far as we could go, and then we'd come whipping down off the hill
Oh my
on
gosh.
the toboggan, making sure we avoided trees.
Yes.
So that was a wintertime activity. Summertime, we did a lot of fishing. We weren't old enough to hunt, but we did a lot of fishing. Caught trout and salmon. Salmon were plentiful in the day. So my mother fixed salmon every which way you could think, mostly for dinner. But I remember I got up one morning to have breakfast, and instead of having bacon or sausage, we had salmon patties for breakfast meat, and that was it for me. And for many years, I had never touched salmon after that. I just got tired of eating salmon. But anyway, after I retired, I came back to be a volunteer on the dredge, organization called the Yankee Fork Gold Dredge Association. And so this is my 21st summer of being a volunteer. I'm kind of semi-retired right now. My daughter and son-in-law have kind of taken over the management duties, and so I'm phasing myself out. I turned 82 years old this August.
Yeah.
I'm just decided that it's time to step back, and I don't know whether this will be my last summer up here or not. It depends on my health. I may be back next summer.
That'd be awesome.
So,
So your dad, actually, well, not your dad, but your mom told your dad to take you to work with him at one point?
yeah, the first time, my older brother was 17 months older than me, and so first time Dad said, "You guys want to go to work with us, with me?" And we thought, "Yay!" So we actually went to work with my dad and got to spend an 8-hour shift on this dredge as it was operating,
Wow.
and a lot of fun. After that, we never wanted to be on it because this dredge is tremendously noisy.
Yes.
You have rock going through metal that's to separate things, and it created a tremendous amount of noise. And so we were happy with the one time, but there would be days my mother would say, "Glenn, you take the boys to work with you to get them out of my hair." And we would start pleading our case about how good we were going to be, and it didn't work. So we were stuck with that again on another 8-hour shift.
Oh, man.
So not fun for being, I was 9 years old the last time, my brother was 10 and a half.
Wow.
And so there was things we could have been doing other than stuck 8 hours in this,
Yeah.
on this dredge while it's operating.
Like going downhill on a toboggan.
Yeah.
Not hitting trees.
Yeah. So pretty much all of our activities in the spring, fall, and summer were outdoors type activities, fishing, just hiking around. There were several other kids in the camp. Here's a picture, kind of a group picture of us here, and you can see, I think there's somewhere 13 or 14 folks, and our teacher was Mrs. Wage, which is right here.
Huh.
And this little fellow right there is me. Looks like I'm holding a stick.
Yeah.
But I used to tell people, that was the stick the teacher gave to me to keep everybody in line. But that was not true. What it is it's the stick that holds on to the bell for ringing the bell, the school bell. And it was my turn that day to ring the school bell, and I was making sure nobody was going to get a hold of the stick.
That is cool. So growing up on the dredge, you actually met Dave Turnin, right?
I did. In 2021, he came here before we were open. It was just before Memorial Day, 2021, and knocked on the side door, and I opened it, and there he stood. And he says, "Are you open?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, we don't open until Saturday." This was like 2 days before that. And he said, "Boy, I really wanted to go through there." That's when I looked at him and I pointed my finger and I said, "I know you from somewhere." And he said, "Maybe TV?" And that's when it clicked. And I said, "Those are Dave."
Those are
Because
Dave.
I watched Gold Rush show. And then I said, "Sure, you can come in." And then he said, "Can I bring my film crew in?" And I said, "You got your film crew with you?" And he says, "Yes, they're up in the parking lot." So I said, "Sure." So he brought his film crew down, and then I give them a guided tour all the way through the dredge, and it was all taped with the film crew. And then at the end of it, one of the film people asked me if I would sign a release so I wouldn't be compensated for it.
Right.
And I said, happy to do so. I said, if he was to show that on his program, that would be advertisement for people to come and see the dredge.
Exactly.
So
Well, that's awesome.
So I've met, over the 21 years, a lot of interesting people. We literally have people from all over the world come tour this dredge.
Yeah.
And especially all over the United States. Typically, we have 47, 48 of the 50 states represented with visitors every year, plus a lot of European visitors, Asian visitors, and as far away as New Zealand and Australia have
Yeah.
been here to tour this dredge. The COVID years of 20 put a stop to a lot of international visitors, but it's starting to pick back up now post-COVID years.
Right. Well, this is awesome. I know Tracy and I have really enjoyed working and volunteering here this summer. We plan on coming back next year.
Yeah, and I have personally enjoyed them. So it's it's great just meeting people and having wonderful volunteers.
Yeah.
To keep this open for the public.
Right.
That is the whole goal, is to keep this dredge restored and open for public for generations to come.
Exactly. And keep the history alive.
Keep the history alive.
Yep. Well, thank you, Billy. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Bye.